Alright, today I would like to do a little run through of Star Wars Armada for everybody. Right here we see my Imperial force, and I did this as 125 points for each side. I wanted to be able to get all the different types of ships in, but I'm not using any of the upgrades or anything like that. So you can see my Imperial force here. We have the Victory Class 2 Star Destroyer, and then we have 4 groups of TIE fighters. The one in the middle of the group of 3 over there is Hull Runner. And then we'll come back in just a second and I'll show you the Rebel Force. Here we have the Rebel Force. They came in at just under 125 points. I want to say it was 122. Had to use both of the cheaper versions of their bigger ships, but that's just how it worked with the point value I was working. So we have those two, and then the 2 groups of X-Wings, and the one on the right here is Luke Skywalker. In this game, there's 4 different phases. There's the command phase, the ship phase, the squadron phase, and then the status phase. In the command phase, you're normally taking your command dials, which are these little things here, and you're picking which command you're going to use for your ship. So I've already gone ahead and done that for all my ships. And for the smaller ships, like the Curling Corvette, they have smaller amounts of commands, which is good and bad. The good thing is that their command is going to happen right away. The bad thing is that you can only have so many command tokens per ship, so if you don't use them. So the Star Destroyer over here has a command value of 3, so it's going to have 3 of those stacked up. So you have to plan ahead more, but it can also store more tokens to use for later. So I've already done the command phase. So now we're going to go into the ship phase, and the Rebel player is going to have priority. And in this game, you keep priority or initiative for the entire game. So the Rebels are always going to get to choose a ship to activate first, but then you go back and forth. So the Rebels will activate one, the Imperials will activate theirs, and then we'll come back over to the Rebels for their final one. So the first thing you do in the ship phase, you decide what ship you're going to do, which for us, we're going to do the Curling Corvette here. And so what I do is I take the command token, and I reveal it, and I put it by my ship here. And so I have to decide whether I'm going to use that token right away for its effect, or if I'm going to get a token to place on my ship, which allows me to use it later. So in this case, I'm going to use it right away, and this is the maneuver command, or the navigate command, sorry. And you can increase or decrease your speed by 1, and then it also increases your yaw value by 1 on one of the clicks, and I'll explain how that goes. Alright, so we are going to go ahead and spend this token right now. And we are going to change our speed here. It starts at 2, and we're going to go ahead and change it to 3. And so now our ship, if you look right here, is moving at 3, which is nothing in the first click, 1 in the second, and 2 in the third, which I'll show you right now. Alright, so here's our maneuver ruler. When I talk about clicks on the first and second, third, that kind of thing, I'm talking about on this right here. So on the first section, you can see here, this is where we would click. So as you can see the little lines there, you can click 2 in any direction on any of these clicks. So for instance, on our Corvette, I said we have nothing on the first one, 1 on the second, and 2 on the third for speed 3 there. So for our Corvette, we're going to do a maneuver that looks something kind of like this. Or nothing on the first one, sorry. 1 on the second, and 2 on the third. And I'm going to go ahead and I can do an extra click, so we can do an extra click on the first one. That's what our yaw value is that I was talking about, and that's what this token allows you to do. And so now I can put this next to my ship. It goes in this little groove, little groove that's right there, so that the front of the ship matches up with that line. So then we're going to have our ship move to the end of speed 3. And so we take our ship, pick it up, and we move it to the edge of speed 3, end of speed 3. So that's what it looks like. So this is how our ship is moved on its first movement there. And its speed is going to stay at 3 until we change it. So, alright, after we do our movement, we remove our range ruler, and then we take our activation marker, our command marker, and we put it right on top of our ship card. That lets us know that we've activated the ship when it has a face-up command token on it. So now we'll be right back and we're going to do the Imperial movement. Alright, so here we are on the Imperial side for the ship phase. So we do the same thing. We take our command dial, we reveal it, and so for this one, we put it by our ship. It is the Squadron command. Well, there's not really a whole bunch of use to use the Squadrons right now, so we're going to go ahead and spend this to give us a token for that. So in this case, we're going to spend our command dial, which is the Squadron action, and we're going to put it right on our ship to show that we've activated this ship. But then we are going to get the token, and I'm just going to place it right on the ship here. Next thing we have to do is we have to move our ship. So we're at speed 2. So as you can see here, on the first click you're going to get nothing, and on the second click you're going to get 1. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll come back when I'm done. This turn I've decided just to move the ship straight forward, the 2 spaces. We are back to the Rebels and activating the Nebula B for the last ship. So we're going to reveal this. It's a maneuver action. So we're going to go ahead and place this by our ship. And we are going to go ahead and we're going to spend that right away as well. And we're going to move this ship up to speed 3. And then I can increase my value too. So I'm going to put that back over on my ship, and then I am going to come back right after I move the frigate here. So this is how I decided to move the frigate here, and just kind of did a little squiggly. And I did just measure, and we are going to be at just the tip of the very longest range that you can. The Star Destroyer and the frigate will be. So we'll get into some shooting next turn, which will be good. Alright, now we are going to move on to the Squadron phase. So I will be right back and explain that one. Alright, in the Squadron phase, the first player gets to activate 2 of their unactivated squadrons. In this case, it's going to be both of the X-Wings for the Rebels here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at Luke's card here, which is the same stat-wise for moving and its hull. So you can see the little yellow arrow there has a number 3 by it. That's how much we can move the X-Wing. Now moving them is a little different. We don't use the same tool that we'd use the capital ships. We use the range ruler. Except if you flip it over, it has all these numbers here. So what we do is we're going to place it right in front of our ship that we want to move. This is Luke Skywalker. And we can place it any direction we want. We can move it any direction we want. And so let's tilt it a little this way. And we're going to have Luke move his 3 towards the Corvette there. And so if you notice, on their little bases are these little sliders. And when you activate it, you slide it over. So that shows me that I've activated that group. So, and then I take my range ruler out, and I can go ahead and do the other one. And so we're going to take this one, and we're going to move it over here by the frigate, so it has a little support as well. So take that out, move the slider over, and we've done the Rebel Squadron phase. Now, if we had more, it would go to the Imperial and then come back to the Imperial Squadron phase. And since there's no other Rebel Squadrons to activate, I'm just going to go ahead and move and then come back after I've moved. Alright, here's what the field looks like after the Squadron movement of the Imperials. I just moved the TIE Fighters up there. And so that's going to conclude the Squadron phase, which is going to lead us to the status phase. And in this, we don't have anything to do in the first round. In the status phase, these little green tokens, if you've spent them and put them onto the red side, they'll flip back over. So we don't have anything to do because we haven't used any of those. So we will go ahead right into turn 2. Alright, so here we are at the beginning of turn 2, and the first thing we need to do is we need to take our marker and we flip it over. And so that tells us, you know, we're on the next turn, and you can see it matches the color of all the squadrons that are out. So that's a good indication of what squadrons have been activated. Alright, so now we're moving into the command phase. So the first thing we need to do is we need to take all of our command dials and decide what we're going to do. And these go back on the bottom of the pile if there's more than one. But for this instance, the Corvette only has 1. So because I've piloted to close to the edge of our map here, I need to keep this maneuver dial so that way I don't fly off the edge of the world here. So I'm just going to put that right back face down, and then we can go over here to the frigate. We have to plan another turn in advance, and for right now I know that I'm going to be pretty close to that Star Destroyer in a couple of turns here. So I'm going to go ahead and take this, and I'm going to keep it here because I want to be able to maneuver myself in a good position once that turn comes around. So I'm going to put that right there, and then we're going to go over to the Star Destroyer. Here we have our Star Destroyer, which already has a squad token on it. So we're going to want to change this. I think we're going to be taking some damage in a few turns here, because I had to plan 2 turns ahead. So I'm going to go ahead and put the repair action. And I'm going to put that down here on the bottom of our pile. And so here we go. That was the command phase, and we were ready to go. Now we'll go into the ship phase, and the rebels will get to activate first again. Alright, so here we're in the ship phase of turn 2, and the rebels get to go first. And after measuring here, the Corellian Corvette there is just barely in range of the front arc, so I want to save it from the damage, so I'm going to go ahead and move it first. So I'm going to go ahead and flip over its command dial to reveal another maneuver. And we're going to go ahead and use that maneuver right away, and move my speed down by 1. So we're going back to speed 2 now. And so I will go ahead and get the movement ready, and I'll come back after I've moved. Alright, so the Corvette was able to get 1 click in the first one and 2 clicks in the second by being at speed 2. So I went ahead and used that extra yaw point to go into the first category so I can make a sharp turn there to the right. And so that's where I ended up. Next we have the Imperial players ship phase here. And so we're going to take our first command token. Man, that one stuck there. So this one is a maneuver. And so this time we are going to spend this token right away, this maneuver. And we're going to be going ahead and using that right away in order to reduce our speed and stuff. But the first thing we get to do, the important part, is in this game compared to like X-Wing, you have to shoot first and then move. So we've already found out that I've already looked that the Nebulon B is in range here. And so how you do that is you take the range ruler and you put it on the edge of the arc that you want to fire from, and then you direct it towards your ship, and you can see where they overlap and what range you're in. So we're definitely at the longest range, but the Star Destroyer is going to shoot its front arc into the side arc of the Nebulon B frigate over here. You can see it can hit it, because the Nebulon B only has 1 shield over there. So the Star Destroyer, you can see it's both on the card and on the front of the ship. It has 3 red and 3 blue. Unfortunately, at long range, our ruler here shows us the longest range we can only use red dice. So we're going to get the 3 red dice, and we're going to roll those to fire at the side of that Nebulon B. So here's what our results are, and I'll come right back and tell you what that means and where we're going from there. So here's our roll from our Star Destroyer, and this symbol right here means that that's a regular hit. This symbol right here is an accuracy symbol, and that means that these green tokens that are on these ships, we can choose one of them that the ship cannot use. So for this one, it doesn't really matter too much, but we're going to go ahead and make it so they can't use the evade token for this Nebulon B. So there's nothing else really that the Nebulon B could do to defend this. So it's going to take 1 point of damage on its side over here. And as you can see right here, it has 1 shield. And so what we do is we take that shield and we use the slider and move it down to 0. So now that side has 0 shields. And so if it's hit again on that side, it's going to start taking hull damage. So now we have to go back and finish the Star Destroyer's movement, which we already said he is going to use the navigate ability, and so he's going to move himself down 1 space because he wants to make sure he stays within range of these guys for longer. So I'm going to go ahead and do my move for the Star Destroyer, and I'll come back and show you what we've done. So in this case, again, we just moved the Star Destroyer just up the 1 space, because I'm anticipating this frigate here is going to come into range, and I want to be able to hit it with 2 different sides instead of 1 when I attack. So that's where we move the Star Destroyer, we put his token over here, and so next we're going to go and move the frigate. So here we have the frigate's turn, and we're going to reveal the top command again. This is a repair command. We are going to go ahead and save that command because we didn't take as much damage as we could have. So we're just going to put the command token over here on our ship. We'll place that on our ship card, show it's activated, and then we're going to go ahead and shoot. So for the Nebulon B, you can see here in the front arc, we have 3 red dice to shoot with. So I'm going to go ahead and gather those and roll. And so we got a pretty good hit with this. So I will come back in just a second and explain what we're going to do with that. I did forget to say that I was targeting the front arc of the Star Destroyer here. But the results that we have on the dice are 2 crits, which are these symbols right here. These are both crits. And then 2 regular hits. So at this point, the Star Destroyer is going to take 4 total damage. So we're going to go over here and look at the tokens that the Star Destroyer has that is able to be used. And so this top one up here is the one we're going to spend. This one lets us half the damage that we're taking. So we'll flip that over. And so we're only going to take half damage from that attack. And it's rounded up in case you have an odd number. So half of it, we're just going to take out these 2 damage. So there's going to be 2 left. Now, the other ones that are over here allow us to redirect to a different hull zone so we can use our shields to absorb better. We're not going to worry about that right now. So we're going to take the 2 damage straight to the front hull, which you can see here the shield value is 3. So we're going to go ahead and slide our shield value down by 2. And so it has 1 shield left in that spot. Now, in this game, you can attack from 2 different hull zones. So our Nebulon B is going to be able to shoot from its side here, which is a red and a blue, but we're still at long range, so we can only use red dice, so it's going to be 1 red against the front of that ship again. And we get 1 hit. At this time, again, we have these tokens over here. So the Imperial player is going to activate one of these tokens and take that on one of its sides. So we're going to take it over here on the left side of this ship. So we have to take the 1 damage. Oops, I rotated it the wrong way there. So it's down to 2 shields over on that side. And then we're going to go and do the movement for the Nebulon B, and I'll come back when I've done that. Here's what the movement looks for our Nebulon B. It was really close, but it was a little sneaky here and got around, so it's the front arc of the Star Destroyer is not going to be able to target it next round. So here's how it looks after the ship phase of turn 2, and we're going to go right into the Squadron phase. So the Rebels get to go first, and they are going to move their X-Wings. They have Luke Skywalker here, and then their regular X-Wing group here. And so they're going to move their ships, and they're going to move them to support the ships that they were originally with. So here we're going to have Luke, and he is going to move straight over to the side here to join up with this little Corvette. And then we're going to have this X-Wing group here move over and join up with the frigate here. So these, you can see here I'm measuring quick. From this X-Wing group, we're in range 1 of that TIE Fighter squadron and the capital ship. Now the next turn I'll be able to use that X-Wing group and attack with it, but since they're within range 1 of another fighter group here, they're basically engaged with each other, and neither one of those groups can move elsewhere or attack anything but the group of fighters that they're engaged with. So it could be a pretty sticky situation for them. Both. Here we are on the Imperial side for their fighter activation. And they have a fighter right here within range 1, we just talked about, of that X-Wing squadron. So what they get to do is they get to attack. You can either move or attack in this phase. So we're going to look down here at the TIE Fighters, and this is their speed, 4. This is their hull strength. This is their anti-fighter, so when they're fighting other squadrons, that's how many dice they roll. And this is versus ships here, so that's just 1 blue, and this one's 3 when fighting other squadrons. So they're going to attack this X-Wing group over here. So we're going to get the 3 blue dice, and we're going to roll those dice. Now, crits don't do anything against fighters. So this one means nothing. So that one's gone. But this is 2 damage that's going to happen on this X-Wing. So to take damage on these guys, again, pretty cool. You just slide the cardboard over, however many it is. So there's 2 damage on this X-Wing. So it has 3 left. And so that's the first fighter group that was activated. Now we get to do another one. So let's move this group of fighters over here, and now go over this rule too. In this game, fighters can fly in and out of other ships and squadrons. It makes a whole lot of sense. So they're not obstructed. So the movement of these TIE fighters is 4. So I can easily make it from here over to engage this group of X-Wings as well. And again, I'm sliding these activations over here to the side. So that's the movement of that one. So then they get to keep going, the Imperials, because there's no other rebels to go with. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to swarm this X-Wing group over here. So this group of TIE fighters is going to move its movement of 4 all the way over this way. And then we're going to have Howl Runner, who gives a bonus to the TIE fighters groups when she's by them. She's going to move straight over to, and as you can see, the 4 is well within range. So I'm going to move her over and just place her right here. So all of the fighters are within range 1 of each other over there. And then all those TIE fighters are going to be a range of that Nebulon B and vice versa for the Star Destroyer next round. So that's the end of our squadron phase, and this is how it looks here. Looking pretty grim for the rebels, actually. Here we are after the squadron phase, and now we go into the status phase. So again, all of these tokens that are red, we flip back over to green so they can be used again. Now, if you want to, you can use a token that's on the red side, but then it's discarded forever. So it's kind of like a resource management that you have with your ships there. So that's the end of round 2, and we will go into round 3. Okay, so here's what it looks like at the beginning of round 3 here. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to flip over this token, and then we have to decide our commands. I'm going to go ahead and decide these off camera, and then we will be back. So the rebel player has decided that they are going to do the Nebulon B first this time. So we reveal the top command token, which is a maneuver, and we're going to go ahead and use that right away to move the speed down by 1. Alright, so we have our shots with our Nebulon B here. And what we're going to do first off is we're going to fire with this side arc over here, and we're going to fire at the squadrons. And how that works is you get to target each squadron that's in range and within that arc. So I'm going to be able to hit all of these targets. Now my squadron anti-squadron value on my Nebulon B is right up here. It's the same as it is on the squadron card. So this is just 1 blue. So we're going to go 1 at a time, and we're going to roll to see what we do. So this first guy here is a crit. Again, crits do nothing against squadrons, so that one doesn't do anything. This next one here, we're going to roll another crit. Howl Runner gets another crit, so nothing. And then the last one over there gets 1 hit. So we'll take this guy, and we'll assign 1... Whoop. We'll assign 1 damage to him, and we'll go ahead and place him back here. So then, I can try to fire from another arc, but I've already measured it out here, and the front arc of my Nebulon B, while it's in range of the back there, I have to target the little yellow dot that's in the back there. And since it has to go through another arc, I can't target that. It's called obstructed. So I'm going to go straight into movement, and I'll come back after I move my frigate. Alright, so this is how we've decided to move with the frigate here. And then, one thing that I forgot to do before I moved is I'm going to spend this token here, which gives me half of my engineering value instead of the full. So let's round it up. So it's going to give, it's 3. but divided by 2 is 1.5, rounded up is 2. And that you can spend 1 point to move a shield from one zone to another. You can spend 2 points to regenerate a shield, and you can spend 3 points to get rid of a damage. So we're going to regenerate this shield for 2 points right there. So bringing my shield back up to full on the Nebula B. And then we're going to go into the Imperial movement, and I'll be right back with that. Alright, so here we are at the beginning of the Imperial movement. So we're going to reveal our command dial, which in this case is the attack. I forget what it's called. Let me look. It's called Concentrate Fire. And so we're going to put that right over here, and we are going to spend that right away this round. And what that lets you do is it lets you add a die that you're already rolling to an attack. So let's look at our first attack here. So our first attack for the Nebulon B, against the Nebulon B, is going to go from the rear arc back here, which is 2 red dice, and it's going to go into the side over there. So I get to roll my 2 red dice, which gives me a hit and a crit. And I'm going to go ahead and add another red die with this command token there. So we're going to add another one, which is another crit. So that's really good against the Nebulon B. So the Nebulon B has some stuff that it can use. So the first one that it can use, the first thing that the Nebulon B has that it can use is the evade token, and the evade token at range 1 does nothing, so it's not going to be helpful for us. So we are going to use one of these tokens that lets you divide the damage in half. So basically, with it being 3 damage, it's just going to take 1 damage out of the picture. So we're going to get rid of one of these. So it leaves us with 2. So the first damage is going to hit the shield and bring it down to 0. Now, because these are crits, the next damage, the first damage that's dealt, is going to be dealt face up because it's a crit. So we're going to do that right now. So here we are taking damage for our Nebulon Beast. So we draw the top card of the deck, and because, again, it's a crit, we flip it face up. So this one, let's get it focused here, is structural damage. Deal 1 face down damage card to your ship, then flip this face down. So that's pretty bad. That means it takes an extra point of damage. So we dealt it a card, and now we flip this one face down. So it has 2 damage. And again, right here is its hull value, which is 5. So 3 more damage on this ship, and it's gone. So looking pretty grim for the Nebulon B. And the Imperial still has its other attack. So let's go ahead and do that now. Now the other attack is going to come from the Star Destroyer side, which here is 2 red and a blue. And that, again, is going to go straight into that side. So let's get our 2 red and our 1 blue. We're going to roll these. And so we have 1 damage and an accuracy. So the accuracy is not going to matter because we'll take away 1. The 1 doesn't matter at all. It can't be used at range 1. And the other one cuts damage in half, which is still going to just be 1. So bad news for the Nebulon B is that it takes 1 damage. The good news is it could have been a lot worse with those dice. So our Nebulon B is up to 3 damage. Only has 2 left, so it's looking a little rough for it. So now we're going to do the movement for the Star Destroyer, and I'll come back right after I'm done with that. Star Destroyer just moves straight forward 1 again. And one thing that I forgot to do here is I'm going to use this token right here, the Squadron token. So unfortunately I don't get to do my entire Squadron value because it's a token. I get to activate 1 Squadron. So I'm going to activate this Squadron right over here. So I'm going to push this over here to the other side, and it's going to attack this X-Wing Squadron here. And it gets to roll 3 blue dice, but then I talked about how Runner gives all of the TIE Fighters a benefit. So let's go over here and look at what her card says here. So while another friendly squadron with Swarm at distance 1 is attacking a squadron, it may add 1 blue die to its attack pool. And then Swarm, when attacking a squadron engaged with another squadron, you may reroll a die. So not only is this TIE Fighter squadron rolling 4 blue dice, but it also gets to reroll 1. So let's see what it can do to this X-Wing squadron. So we have 1 crit. So we're going to reroll that one, which becomes a hit. And then we have to roll our 4th die. I should have just done that. So it's going to be a total of 3 hits. It actually worked out really well with that swarm ability and Howl Runner. And unfortunately for our X-Wing buddy here, he's at 3 health. So this X-Wing is going to be our first casualty of the game and gets blown up and removed from play. Okay, so that ends the ship phase for the Imperials. And now we are going to go back to the Rebels. Things are looking a little bleak for the Rebels here, so hopefully our Corvette can do something for us. So we have a fighter squadron activation there, which I think we're going to go ahead and use this turn as well and see if we can at least do a little bit, because man, these guys are doing a lot of damage. Alright, so we're still out of range of the capital ship there. So we're going to go ahead and do our movement, and then I will come back and do my squadron token. Here's what it looks like after the Corvette moved, and now it's going to do its action, where the squadron action, where it can make one of the squadrons that can activate, and it can move and attack in this phase. So we're going to have it move up here, and again, this is Luke Skywalker. He's going to move straight up here, and now he is within range 1, just barely, of our Star Destroyer there. So he's going to be able to try to take a shot at the Star Destroyer. So Luke's attack, and he has a special ability here, a couple of them. The Escort we're not going to worry about, but the Bomber is whenever he rolls a crit, he actually deals a damage with that and can have a critical effect. But his big special ability at the top there is while attacking a ship, treat the defender as having no shields. So that's really good. He can do damage straight to it. Oh, and one more thing. He rolls a black die, which is really powerful in close range. So we're going to take our black die for Luke and roll it here. And unfortunately, he gets a blank. So Luke does not help us out like we wanted him to. And so that is the end of the ship phase for round 3. And let me just move my slider over here. And so next we'll be going into the squadron phase, and the Imperials are going to get to move all of theirs because Luke is already activated. So we'll be right back with that. Right, so in the squadron phase for the Imperials, they have their 3 squadrons that have not activated, and just a quick look, you know, within range 4, all these squadrons have quite the range here. And so they are going to just swarm over here and be on Luke. So there's one there. Here's Howl Runner shooting across. And then we have our last group here. We'll go across. So they're all going to be engaged with Luke. They don't get to shoot this phase, but they're at least in position. So here's what it looks like at the end of our squadron phase. And then we move into the status phase. And there's only one person, one ship that has a token to refresh, and that's our Nebulon B over here. So we'll refresh that. And that is the end of turn 3. And we will be right back with turn 4. Alright, here we are at the beginning of round 4. I've already done the command phase here. So I've already done all the tokens for all the different ships here. And so we're going to go ahead and go right into the Rebel player's activation. And so we're going to go with the Nebulon B first because it is in a rough way. So it is going to reveal its token. Good thing I planned for it taking some damage because it has the repair action, which is definitely going to go ahead and spend right away. So that's going to give it its full engineering value, which is 3. So here's where I have to make a decision. I can either remove one of the cards that I have there, or I could repair and move a shield over. So I really would like to get another shield, get my shield back, but at the same time I could be taking a lot of damage. Tough decisions here. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and spend it and get the shield back, just in case we can save some crits from ourselves, potentially. And then the Nebulon B gets to attack and then move. So it gets to attack from its side, which is one red, one blue. And this time it's going to be targeting the rear arc of our Star Destroyer, which only has one shield. So that's pretty good for it. So let's see what we can do here for damage. And that's actually pretty good. We've got double crits. So the Star Destroyer can use some of its tokens now. And since it can, it's just going to go ahead and use its half damage to only take 1 damage, so one of it's going to go away. And then it can go ahead and spend another token, which we're going to go ahead and do that. Spend a token to redirect. So instead of taking the 1 damage to this one shield, we're going to go over here to this adjacent one and take it on this one, which has 2 shields left. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Oop, move the ship a little bit. And bring it down to 1. So this side has 1 shield remaining, but it keeps its shield in the back intact. So that was it for the Nebulon B. The other arcs are not in firing range, so we're going to go ahead and do its movement, and I will come back after that's over. So the Nebulon B swung around, and luckily for it, it's only in the rear arc of the Star Destroyer here. So the Star Destroyer is going to get to go. So we're going to reveal its top command dial, which is a repair action, which is pretty good for it. It has 4 engineering points, as you can see right there. So it's going to regenerate 2 of its shields. And we're just going to go ahead and do both from this side over here. So that brings it back up to 3 shields. Now our Star Destroyer is going to attack from its rear arc into the side over here of the Nebulon B. And the rear arc for the Star Destroyer is 2 red. So we'll go ahead and roll those. And it has 2 hits. So the Nebulon B has its 2 half damage tokens, so it'll spend 1 to reduce the damage to 1. Which then leaves us with 1 on the shield, and that's going to take it all the way down to 0. So it's back to 0, but it could have been a lot worse for the Nebulon B. And then we're going to go ahead and attack from the side over here, and I think we have range 3 from the side to the front hull of the Corvette here. So the side of the Star Destroyer is 2 red and a blue. So we'll roll those. Pretty big hit there. So a crit and a regular hit, and then an accuracy. So we are going to make it so they cannot use the redirect. So the Corvette is going to use one of these right here, which makes your opponent reroll 1. And they're going to make him reroll the blue die here. So it's a normal damage instead of a crit. We were hoping for something a little different, but that's okay. So it's going to take the 2 damage to the front hull here, which brings it down to 0 shields. So our Corvette is at 0 as well. And then I'm going to move the Imperial ship, and we'll come back after movement. Alright, our Imperial ship has moved and turned a little bit to try to stay within some more firing arcs of the Rebel ships here. And so now we're going to go into the Corvette's move. The Corvette's command dial is a Squadron command, which they are definitely going to go ahead and use right away. So they're going to go ahead and use that, and Luke is going to attack this squadron right here that has 1 damage on it. So Luke's anti-squadron value, as with X-Wings, is 4 blue dice. So we're going to roll these 4 blue dice. Roll 3 blue dice, and we'll re-roll some. Alright, so this means nothing, so we'll make this our 4th die. 2 crits and a hit. So again, the crits do nothing, so Luke is going to do 1 damage to this TIE Fighter squadron. bringing it down to its final hit point. And then Luke is activated, switching him over, and now we're going to go into the Corvette's actions. So, as you can see here, the front arc has both this TIE Squadron and Howl Runner in its arc, and since it's not in range of the Star Destroyer, it's going to use its anti-squadron value, which is only 1 blue. It's going to shoot at the damaged TIE Fighter first, which does 1 damage, which will kill this TIE Fighter group, so that'll be our second casualty. And then it's going to roll 1 against Howl Runner, which is also 1 damage. Now, Howl Runner is going to go ahead and use her Scatter ability, which makes it so it cancels all attacks against her. So she's not going to actually take any damage on this go. So then the Corellian Corvette is able to shoot out of its second arc. So we're going to measure from the side here. Well, we have Howl Runner in its arc and range 2, and so is the other TIE Fighter squadron. So again, squadron value of 1 blue. So the first one against Howl Runner, nothing. And the other one against the TIE Fighter is a crit, nothing. So that's it for the attacks, and then we'll come back after a moment. Alright, this is what it looks like here after the Corvette has moved. And now we're going to go into the squadron phase, which the Rebels don't have any squadrons, so it's just going to be the 2 Imperial squadrons left. Hopefully Luke can survive this round. Alright, so here we have the squadron phase for the Imperials. So they have their 2... Oh, I lied. They have their 3 squadrons out there. There's one hiding behind that ship there. So first we're going to do the 2 squadrons that are right here next to them. So the first is going to be the regular squadron. We're not going to use Howl Runner yet. The regular squadron has an anti-squadron value of 3 dice. However, it gets the +1 because of Howl Runner's ability. So, we roll our 3 dice. So, we have to remember we have an extra hit. Wow. 3 hits, and then Luke cannot use one of his tokens, but he has the other one. So, we're going to reduce the damage in half for Luke, bringing their 3 damage down to just 2. But that is bringing Luke scarily close to dying. He has 3 left. And so then we have Howl Runner to go next. So that was this squadron here. And now we have Howl Runner, sorry. Just has a 3, doesn't have the other ones. And so then she has an accuracy, 1 damage, and then a crit, which does nothing, but remember the swarm ability makes it so if you have another squadron with swarm, you get to reroll a die. So that's going to be 2 damage, and here's where the accuracy comes in. So the accuracy is going to, is going to make it so Luke can't use his green half damage token. So this is going to force Luke to have to use this token here, which removes it from the play forever. So he's never going to get that one back. But he needs to do the half damage, because otherwise he'd take 2 and be down to 1 health. So he's going to be down to 2 health here. And that's Howl Runner. It's activated. And then we have our squadron over here, behind the ship, is just going to fly over and join his buddies, ganging up on Luke and his squadron here. And that is the end of the squadron movement. So then we'll just go right now into the status phase. So we have some tokens to flip over this time. So Howl Runner gets hers, the Star Destroyer gets his, and then there's ships all over the place that have them. Every ship has activated these things. So then we will go into turn number 5. Alright, so here we are at the beginning of turn 5. I've already flipped over the token. I've already done the command phase. So we're going to go right into the Rebel player ship phase. So the first ship that's going to activate is going to be the Corvette, because it's going to try to get something going over here. So the Corvette's ability is going to be the Squadron again, because it's got to get Luke involved here before he goes, because I don't think he's going to last another round. So Luke's going to go ahead and go. He's going to roll his 4 dice against this TIE Fighter Squadron over here. So he has 3 there. The crit doesn't do anything, the accuracy doesn't do anything, so we're going to re-roll one of these for our 4th one. So it just does 1 damage to this TIE Fighter. Pretty sad for Luke. He really needed to take one of these squadrons out so that way he could maybe survive this round. So he's going to go ahead and switch his little slider over here. He's been activated. Now it's the Corvette's go. So we're going to look here, and it looks like the front 2, or these 2 TIE Fighter squadrons here, are in range of the front arc. So the first attack's going to go to Hell Runner, 1 damage. Hell Runner's just going to use her scatter and make it so she doesn't take anything. And then the next attack goes to that other squadron, and it also gets a damage. So this squadron's going to take a damage, bringing it down to 2. And then from the side arc, the Corvette has the 2 squadrons there. So the first one is that one over there in the middle, which is a crit, does nothing. And this other one, we're going to do 1 damage, so it brings it down to 1. And now that makes it really sad that Luke didn't do an extra damage, because this squadron would have been toast. And so now the Corvette needs to move, so we'll come back after movement. So our Corellian Corvette has made a daring rescue of the Nebulon B frigate there and protected it with itself. Unfortunately, it has no shields in the front, so this could be really dangerous for this little guy here. So we're going to go into the Imperial's movement. So we're going to reveal our command dial, which again, it gets stuck. And it's a squadron command. So definitely going to go ahead and use that. So the 3 squadrons are going to get to go ahead and go right now. So the first squadron will be this far one over here. And remember, it gets 4 dice because of Hell Runner. So there's the first 2. That's already 3 damage. And then remember, it gets to re-roll 1. So that crit that we had, that we need to re-roll. 4 damage. That's really nasty. And so all Luke can do is half the damage, but unfortunately he's only at 2 health, so that is the end of Luke Skywalker in the first TIE Fighter squadron there. So it removes him from play. We'll get his card and his token out of here as well. So now, that was just the first squadron. Now these other squadrons are free to start attacking our other ships here. So we have Hell Runner, who is going to attack the Corvette there. And as you can see, both on Hell Runner and the TIE Fighter, the value to attack ships, this red one, is 1 blue each. So Hell Runner is going to be our first attack here, with 1 blue against the ship. And it rolls 1 hit. And again, I forgot to say what arc I was firing at, but I'm just going to fire at this side over here. So that brings it down to 1 shield. Then, we can activate up to 3 squadrons, by the way. So, our final one, is that one. It's going to shoot at the side as well. And it also has a hit. So, it is going to bring that down to 0. I mean, there's not a whole lot that ship can do about it. Actually, it can. I lied. It's going to flip over this token and redirect, so instead of taking that last one to the side over there, it's going to take it to the back. So bringing that down to 0 and leaving 1 shield over on the side over there. So that was a pretty eventful squadron attack there. And now we still have the Star Destroyer to go. So Star Destroyer is going to use the rear arc there, which is 2 red dice, firing at the front arc of our frigate there. So we're going to roll. Wow, what a big hit. 2 regular, and 1 crit. And there's not a whole lot that this Corvette can do about it, because these tokens, these evade tokens, are only for at longer range. So they're going to risk it at this point, and they're going to take damage. So the first damage that they take is face up, which is a thruster fissure. When you change your speed by 1 or more, suffer 1 damage. Well, that ship's not changing speed anymore, because it's about to take the rest of its damage right now. So get 2 more damage off the top. And that brings it up to 3 total damage there. And the hull is only 4, so it is really on its last limb there. So here's the way it looks after the attacks there. And now, since the Star Destroyer can't shoot at anybody else... Oh, actually, I could be mistaken. We'll take a little measure here and see. Ooh, that much. Just out of the arc of the side there, so got lucky. So that's going to be the end of the Star Destroyer's attack, so now it's going to move, so I'll come back after I'm done moving it. So here's what it looks like after the movement of the Star Destroyer. Now we're going to go straight into the Nebulon B's turn. So the Nebulon B is going to reveal its command dial, which is a repair. Not really surprised there, I bet. So we have 3 engineering. What we're going to do at this point is we're going to go ahead and take off one of these damage cards. So we can just discard a damage card for that engineering. And now we're going to go over and try to see if we're in range to attack. So we have from the side arc here, it has to be within range 2, so the only one that's within range 2 for the blue die attack is Howlrunner. So our Nebulon B will take a shot at it. Doesn't do anything, unfortunately. So that's going to be it for the shooting. Yeah, because it was... I guess it could have shot at the Star Destroyer, which it should have done. But we'll move, and then we'll come back. So here's what it looks like after the last Rebel ship moved. And so now we would go into the squadron phase, but all of our squadrons have been activated. So we're going to skip that phase and go straight into the status phase, which I will do, and then we'll come back at the beginning of turn 6 after I do the commands and back into the ship phase. Alright, so here we are at the beginning of turn 6. We're going to go ahead and activate the Corvette first, which is going for it. It's going all out this round. So it has the extra die on the attack, the focus fire. And so from its front arc, it's going to attack the rear arc of the Star Destroyer. So it has 3 blue dice here. So we're going to roll these 3 blue ones and see what we get. We get 2 crits. And we are going to... Let's go ahead and roll another one right now. So we have 1 accuracy plus whatever this is going to be. Another damage. That's really good. So we're going to go ahead and make it so the Imperial player can't use the half damage ability. So the Imperial is going to go ahead and do the redirect. And it's going to go ahead and take the damage all on this far arc over here. So it's going to take 3 damage to this section over here. So it's going to bring that section down to 0 shields, but it's not going to take any in the back where it was getting shot at from. So that's it for that attack. The second attack is going to come from the Corvette side and go straight into the back again. So this is only 2 dice this time. So it rolls its 2 dice. Actually 2 damage again. The Star Destroyer is going to go ahead and do half damage. So it's just going to take 1, and it's just going to take it to its shield in the back, which is fine. Brings it down to nothing. And that's the attacks for the Corvette, and now it's going to go ahead and move, and we'll come back after that. So here we are after the Corvette's move, and we're going to go straight into the Imperial player's phase here. So Imperial player reveals its command, which is a maneuver, which it'll go ahead and just spend now it's going to go up to speed 2. It doesn't really matter a whole lot. But it's going to shoot at the Corvette out of its rear arc there for 2 red dice. The Star Destroyer just rolled a huge hit, showing no mercy to this little ship. And it has a redirect, but it's not going to be enough. Even if it spends the redirect, it's still going to take 2 damage, which is enough hull to kill it. So we'll go ahead and remove this guy from play. And then the Star Destroyer is going to use its second attack out of the side. I already measured the distance to the frigate here. It is going to be obstructed because it's going through some fighters. But it's going to shoot at the side hull over here that has 0 shields. So I will come back in just a second with that roll. Alright, so when I'm obstructed, we have to roll 1 less die of our choice. So normally the Imperial player gets 2 red and a blue. So we're going to go ahead and just get rid of the blue. And just roll the 2 red. So we have 2 crits into the side of this Nebulon B here. And it does have some shield, so that's good. It's going to go ahead and spend something. It's going to only take half damage. That'll be good. So then it's going to take 1 damage face up, which is faulty countermeasures. You cannot spend exhausted defense tokens. That's really unfortunate for them. So now it is down to 2 health. And that's the end of the Star Destroyer's attacks. Then it's going to go ahead and move, and we'll come back after that. Right, here we are after the Imperial movement. So we're going to go ahead and do the Rebels' last ship here. So it has a repair action. We're going to go ahead and remove this face-up damage card as our repair action. It just gets rid of that completely for our 3 points of engineering. And then it can go ahead and see what it can attack here. So we have our Imperial ship is within range 3. So definitely out of the front arc. Gonna shoot that side. Actually, let's go ahead and do the front because it has less shield. So we're gonna shoot the front there. 3 damage. Unfortunately, Imperial player has redirect left. So I'm just gonna redirect it all into this side hull. Take all the damage there. It's down to nothing. So that's the end of that. Now the Nebulon B can try to shoot some of these fighter squadrons. So all of them are within range. So we're going to do one at a time. We're going to do the one that's damaged first. Oh, and he gets a squadron kill. Next one. Ooh, 1 more damage on that one. Brings it down to 1. Not that it matters a whole lot at this point, but... And then Hollow Runner takes 1 as well, but she's just going to go ahead and use her scatter ability and just avoid all the damage. And so then we're going to come back and we're going to move our Nebulon B here. We'll be right back. Here's what it looks like after movement for the Nebulon B. We're going to go into the Squadron phase. And for the Imperials, both are within range 1 barely. Hollow Runner has to attack the back arc, which she will get a hit. So it's going to do... Oops. It's going to do 1 damage here. Bring it down to 1 shield. Oh gosh, I'm moving ship all over the place. And then the other squadron attacking the side. Going to do a crit, which does nothing. So that is it. That's the end of the squadron phase. And that's actually going to be the end of our game. So this is what's left at the end of our little match here. And pretty obvious at this point that the Imperials have won this little skirmish with their Star Destroyer still basically at full health and the Nebulon B on its last leg there. So thanks for watching. Feel free to comment, like, share, subscribe. Let me know if you have any things that you would have liked to see, or I'm planning on doing some in the future, so if there's something you'd like to see, feel free to let me know below. Thanks. Bye.